Hello, welcome to Bad at Board Games. My name's Brad Blake, and I'm bad at board games, so you don't have to be. Today, we're going to be talking about a Euro game, La Cremosa, and I'm going to be referencing my phone still. So we have a designer, Gerald Asensi, and Ferran Renalies, and this is from Devere Games. Nice little Euro. And the theme is Mozart has died. We have been one of his sponsors, and so we're now going to get together with his widow to try to figure out how we can finish one of his opuses. La Cremosa, I believe, is the name of the sheet of music. So that we can finish the pieces and fill in the gaps that he didn't complete. And so in the theme, we are hiring a couple of composers to finish different acts, and we are also recounting stories to, like, oh, I was with Mozart and we did this, or I went to this concert, and so forth and so on. So it kind of gives you like points that way. So that's kind of like the theme. You're either bragging about what you've done with Mozart, or you're hiring composers to complete some pieces of work, or you're kind of moving around the territories and picking up things and objectives and such. So that's kind of where we're at with the game. And then on the mechanics side, so this is not a deck. I don't call this a deck builder. I would call this a deck upgrade. You have a fixed number of cards. I think it's 7 or 8. I think it's an odd number. And you are upgrading those cards. You're never adding to the deck. So to me, a deck builder is one where you start with 8 cards and you end with 50 or 20 or 30. You're never going to have any more cards. Anytime you get a new one, you're getting rid of one. So you have to be conscious of, well, if I want to get this card now, I have to get rid of another card. And I'll kind of explain that and how the game's played. And then it has an open market, a la Dune, a lot of things. You have cards that are out that you can purchase and add them to your deck, or allow you to, kind of have a side tableau with some music and things that you can do. And then we've got in-game scoring. So this isn't area control, best at Star Trek. This is area influence. You have the different acts of the music, and depending on who has the most resources in those acts, you're going to get 6 points per contribution there. And then if you're second place, you're going to get, 3 points per contribution. So there's not a multiplier, so they're kind of using this as a multiplier. So I don't know. I wasn't super successful at this, but I wasn't like real far behind by not doing this either. So I think there's some different ways to win, but it's not down at the bottom where you're actually composing the music. Isn't like make or break, but it definitely is something you kind of want to make sure you're involved in and try to get one of these pieces of music that is on, you get the higher points, right? So player count, this actually does have a solo, so it's 1 to 4. We played it at 3. I liked it at 3. I think at 2, you might not have enough interaction. So I enjoyed it at 3. I would say I recommend it at 3. I think you could play this at 2. It's just you're not gonna have as much as somebody took something you wanted, right? It's just gonna be a little bit more open. It's not gonna feel as tight, or you're not gonna have to shift as much. And I kind of like some of that tension. And because this plays quickly for a Euro game, I would recommend, this is a nice 3 or 4 player game. Not that you can't play it at 1 or 2. I've seen some things where people like it at 1. So check that out if you're interested. That's the only thing I can't really comment on the solo side of it. But there's some reviews and online forums that you can take a look at if you like playing Euros solo. So on your turn, you're going to be able to perform one of five actions, right? You're going to have a deck of cards, and there's, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you're going to have 9 cards in your deck at all times, no more, no less. So you're going to draw 4, and this is going to be what you have available to you on your very first turn. And you're going to select one of these cards. And I think this is a nice little use of the tableau as well as the book. Look at this. This is cool. I like how they've made this into a book. So it's nice for the very first time you open it. After that, it doesn't matter. But your action's on top, and then you have to select another card for the resource that's on the bottom. Now, I like this mechanic. You're going to lose this action for the rest of this round because you're going to place it on the bottom, right? So on my turn, I'm just going to be able to do, this one's commissioning an opus, which allows me to buy a performance card from the market. And then at the end of all 4 turns, during the maintenance phase, I'm going to be able to get this resource. So this card's kind of out of play until the very end of the round, or the end of the turn, round, year, however you like to look at it. So I think that's pretty slick. And, after you play those 2 cards, you're going to draw back up to 2 more cards. So you may not get the action. What I found is you may not get the action you want until like late in the game, or in the very 4th turn. You wanted it at the beginning to kind of help set up a couple of other things you want. So you're kind of having to adapt, which actions do I want to take? Oh, I didn't get, I'm getting all the performances. I didn't want performances this round. So I guess I'm going to just shove those under, and am I going to just take the resources that it gives me because I need these other actions, things like that. I didn't find it frustrating, but I found it like clever in a way. I liked how they implemented that. So that's a turn. You're selecting your action on top, selecting your action on the bottom. Once you play those 2 cards, then you're going to draw back up to 4 and continue on. So the 5 action cards you have, depending on what you draw, you have one that documents memories. There's one of those cards in there that allows you basically to upgrade one of the cards that you have. So the way that you're going to buy that from the market, and then you have to upgrade the bottom card that you put in here. So you're going to take this one out, pitch it, and then put the upgraded card in here. So when you take that action, you're going to want to make sure you're not getting rid of an action that you might want in the future as you continue to upgrade your card, because then you're like, oh, wait a minute, I didn't mean to get rid of that one, and now I only have 1 instead of 2. You can commission an opus, which is buying a card from the market, and those opuses can be in-game scoring things, or during the game you can perform an opus if you have it in your tableau, and you can get money for it, or you can sell it and then you take it away and discard it. So that's the other action. To me, it looks like there's a vampire with a scroll, but it's actually the performance. So that kind of leads into your buying these opuses to then be able to perform or sell them. And it's a way to get money, resources, and other things. And then in the middle of the map, there's actually, I believe this is Germany. I'm not or it might be just part of Europe, because that looks like Italy. Yeah, it's like, so you've got Paris and, maybe just all of France and kind of some of that Western European area. You do have London on here, so it's a bit all over. You can travel. So if you have the travel card, you can move on the map, and you're going to pay a coin to move from one city to the next. And you can move as far as you want, but you're going to have to pay to be able to move. And then the last one is the Requiem action. And then there's a section down here at the bottom where we have 5 parts to the opus. And depending on how you're playing it, you're going to take one of your instruments and you're going to place it on the piece of music in the section that you want. And depending on, this is where the influence majority control comes in at the end of the game. It's just an end of game scoring. not per turn or anything like that, is if two people pick, there's two composers, so this is where it gets a little strange. There's two composers, so if two people pick composer one and they have the most music on there, then the people who pick composer one is going to get 6 points. The other person who picked composer number two would only get 3. So it's not necessarily area control as much as it is if a couple people decide, hey, let's go ahead and push this composer so that that composer has the majority, so to speak, both those players are going to get 6 points. The other player who didn't pick composer number one is now going to get left behind and get 3 points per instrument they have on there. So it's kind of a multiplier. It's kind of not. I like how they did it, and it gets to be it's kind of tough. Like, I wanted to be able to put more stuff out at the end of the game, and you couldn't. There just wasn't the engine, or the resource wasn't quite there, or you might have not planned well enough. It's almost like you have to get the area control, and it's not area control. It's an interesting little track. I like the way they did it because two people could have area control, area influence, and they're going to get 6 points for every instrument. So it's not just one person wins it and the rest is hosed. You would like that because then that means you're going to, get more victory points and separate yourself from the others, but it doesn't necessarily make it the case. So I think that's kind of slick. So those are the 5 things that you have, and I'll have them put up here on the left and the right so you can kind of see it. Pro, I think this is a quick, easy Euro. It says 90 minutes on here, and with a teach, we played it in 90 minutes. So I think that was definitely one of the pros of this. I thought it was an easy, less than what was on the box, even at 3 players, to play this game. So, that you don't find that often. How's that? I appreciate that quite a bit. So, and I would say, and that kind of leads into the cons, right? That can be a con for somebody. Somebody's going to look at this and be like, oh, all these tracks and this, and like, it's going to be really crunchy and it's going to be heavy. It's not, it's really not that bad. And you kind of need to know that going into it. I think if you're a big Euro player, this is almost a breath of fresh air Euro kind of thing. It's like, oh, I can kind of like just enjoy it instead of being like brain drain, right? So that's my pro and con for that. Setup is a bit of a con as well. The different cards that you have to place in the certain areas, and so it's, in that sense, it's not any different than any other Euro. Lots of baggies, trying to keep everything separated. I would say that the resource management I thought was a little interesting. They've got resources that go away every turn, and then you can have resources that are wooden chips that are the same resources that you keep throughout the game. I don't know if that's the use of those resources was all that restrictive. Maybe kind of, sort of, but that was interesting. And then Derek found that the way the cards looked for the market between the cards that you would upgrade your deck with and the cards that you would have the opus, on the side of your tableau, he wished those looked a little bit different. As you're trying to peruse things, maybe it would be nice if they actually were like a different color, but you really kind of had to look at, there's a big symbol on one of them and then there's not on the other. So, sometimes at glance, you weren't sure how many out there were opuses or how many out there were, cards that would upgrade your deck. So that can kind of be a little bit of a con as well. So the weight rating on this, I think this is a 3. I think it could be even a 3-, but there's enough going on. But BGG is saying it's a 3.16. I think after you play it, you may fall into that camp where you're thinking it's on the lighter side, less than a 3. Not a 2 by any standpoint, but just on the lower side of a 3. And then on the value rating, you can get this between $60 and $70, and this is probably where I'm gonna ding it a little bit. is I think for this game, I would like to see it a little bit cheaper. I'd like to see it in that $55 range. So if it were 50, I'd say this is a 4 to a 5 out of 5 value rating. Being in that 60 to 70 range, I'm going to probably stick it at a 3 out of 5. So for the experience that you're getting, if you want a lighter weight Euro, for the money that you're spending, I feel like it's about average. You're not going to feel like you may feel like you overpaid a little bit. That's why I'm going to say it's like a 3. But that's kind of how I have a dog. That's kind of how I see it. And then moving on to our BGG rating. So this game's ranked fairly well. It was on the hotness for quite a while. It's sitting at number 682 of all time on BGG, and it's got an average rating of 7.75. I really enjoyed the plays of this, and I would have to say right now it's sitting at an 8. Now I could see that, over time this is probably going to, drop instead of go up. I think it's going to hit well and you're going to enjoy it. And then as you play it more, it's probably going to land in that 7 range. But like, I'm enjoying it. I would recommend it. I kind of was like, wasn't sure this is a game I was going to like. I'm glad Derek bought it. This is not my copy. And being able to play it now, I've enjoyed it. So I like I said, all I can say is it was refreshing that it wasn't like super chunky. It was more like Mosaic, right? I enjoyed that. I didn't have to think about 10 different things, and it didn't feel like I was playing chess. So that's just been refreshing, I guess, lately. It's kind of where my headspace is. So that's where I'm at with La Cremosa. What do you think? Have you played it? Other games that you might like: Barcelona from Board and Dice. Devere Games has Bitoku. What else do we have? Let me see. What is BGG recommending? Terracotta Army. Love that. That's a great. Tiletum. I haven't played Darwin's Journey, but I would like to check that out. That's some of the ones that they're recommending. And I kind of agree. It's kind of in that same realm. I think this is easier than Terracotta Army. I think this is easier than Tiletum. This is easier than Barcelona. Bitoku's fiddly. Beautiful, but a lot more fiddly. So just kind of giving you an idea of where all those kind of sit in the grand scheme of things. But what do you think? Is this something that you're interested in? Were you kind of like, I don't know, it's Mozart and didn't really care for the theme? I'm not going to say it's dripping with theme. You're sitting there playing a Euro game. At least that's how I felt. I didn't feel like I was like, being Mozart, but I did like the musical instruments and some of that stuff. So comes and goes. I don't know. Overall, it's an 8. But I would like to know what you think, and if you played it or not, or did you get rid of it? Did you buy it? Or how does this review help you make your decisions? So just remember, no matter how you play, whether it's solo, with family, or friends, enjoy whatever you are bringing to the table. Have a great night.